in Dublin, you feel like it's progressive, and then when you come here, you're like, actually, no, I can be myself.
And it is progressive, but like you feel like, see, the thing is, the biggest thing in Ireland, I think, is, and it's one of the biggest insults that we had growing up was, doesn't she love herself? You know what I mean?
Still going. I still
That's
get
still
that.
going on. Doesn't she love herself or whatever? So sometimes you're half afraid to, like, just on a regular day, if you're just doing an ordinary activity, to dress up and look gorgeous.
Or the backhanded compliments. When I used to work in retail, there was this guy. Now he was a bit bitchy, in fairness, but he would be like,
This retail doll.
yeah,
Aren't we all?
like I wish I had the time in the morning like you.
Oh, stop it!
I wish I had the effort.
Do you know, in the mornings, if I'm back home in Cork and I make an effort with my breakfast, if I, like, you know, do a bit of like an avocado moment, poach the eggs, my mum goes, "Geez, don't you have a great life?" And I'm like, what, poaching eggs? And I'm like, anyone can do this if they get up a half an hour earlier. It's not that I live a life of luxury, that I'm just strolling about my morning making poached eggs. Like, anyone can do it. I don't know.
And what does she have for breakfast?
She would only ever have like a bit of toast and cornflakes.
Oh, what's your my mum? No, sometimes. Oh, actually, no.
My mum's a sparrow, like full on sparrow.
Oh, no, but all mums are like, I had a bit of yogurt and a teaspoon of granola. Do you know, they're like toddlers.
But what's it about?
I don't know.
Or we'll be having dinner together and my mum will be slaving over the oven, right? And it will come to eating the lasagna and then she'll go, she won't put out any for herself. And I'd be like, you're not having any? And she's like, I ate earlier. I had something big at lunch, and I'm like, what did you have? And it's just a standard
like
lunch.
or it's like a scone.
Or it's a scone.
Yeah.
Exactly. No, I had a huge scone at lunch.
My mom's always hated cooking at home. So now that my sisters are like adults and live with her, she always expects them to make dinner. When they're not there, she literally, I come over and she goes, do you know what I had for dinner last night, Keelan? It's gas. Listen, a packet of crisps and a pint.
But I think that's what they do. My mom's the same.
What she does.
And then my mum as well, she's after getting into such a habit, because most of us are moved out of the gaff as well. So if my other brother who's at home, if he's not staying around for dinner, she'd be like, just pop to the chipper. Got a small bag of chips. Just have a bag of chips. I'm like, actually, is that kind of iconic?
No, it is. Treat yourself.
We're talking into this because we are talking, right?
We're talking into
now,
it.
also,
Yeah.
Are we having a bit of a preamble about what we're actually getting into, or is it fine?
No, it's fine. There's no structure.
Is it just having the chats with Keelan?
It's just having the chats with Keelan.
I love that.
I kind of focus a little bit now because it's called growing up.
Yeah.
I like to do a little bit
on trauma.
No.
Childhood trauma and how you've overcome it. This is a picture of you as a kid. What would you like to say to him?
What's your biggest trauma? Your biggest traumatic story challenge.
So how has your childhood trauma affected your everyday relationships in your adult life?
No,
let me take them off. They're silly.
What were you like as a kid, sort of thing?
Oh yeah,
I'd love to know, like, what was in your lunchbox at school.
Oh,
do you know?
Yeah, asking me that now.
And then hopefully people start talking about the trauma. Usually that just comes in.
Yeah, okay, fantastic.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, I'm good.
Is that a question you ask in every app?
No, I've just thought of that for you.
I think that's brilliant.
Yeah,
I think it's actually really insightful. And then you have the kids growing up who like packed their own lunch going to school, you know, and had to grow up really fast. Or you know, some of the kids who their parents just threw them a fiver coming into school, or like in the height of the Celtic Tiger, you know, lads, and they were like literally spending 20 quid in the shop before school every day, and you're like, who's giving you 20 quid? You're a child. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like peak Celtic Tiger.
Yeah, peak. I remember a Starbucks came in. Boycott now.
Boycott.
Also,
stop going to Starbucks anyway. The coffee's shite.
It is shite.
And also stop making it your personality.
The novelty though, when I was just on Tumblr, I was about 13, 14.
You are such a Tumblr kid, aren't you?
I am.
You're the Tumblr girl.
Luckily, it didn't affect me too much.
Good.
Other than the Starbucks thing. I was just like, actually, I love capitalism.
This is going to sound so embarrassing, but it was like the cool thing because, you know, it was from America, right? Originated in America. And it was like, oh, that's what the Americans are doing. I used to have, before there was even a Starbucks in Ireland, I used to have a Starbucks screensaver on my phone. Because I was like, isn't this so fucking cool? And I was like, look at me with my Starbucks screensaver. And it's so embarrassing actually to even admit. Like, how embarrassing is that?
But they did such a good job at advertising that they made Starbucks a cool thing to have. They made it a cool thing at the time. The branding was so cool.
Whereas now I think it's actually, is it not the most basic thing that you can be kind of doing or be seen doing is going around with your Starbucks cup?
Hopefully now it's a bit embarrassing. I would hope
it's a bit embarrassing. Well, you'd be surprised. The thing is, I think, bring back shame. Some people aren't ashamed enough of themselves.
Sometimes. But I think we're shaming for the wrong things at the moment.
Shaming for the wrong things at the moment. Yeah, we need alternative forms of shame.
Yeah. We should be shaming for shaming.
Shaming for shaming, absolutely.
Shame
Let
for
people
shame.
get on with their lives.
Follow for follow, shame for shame.
Shame for shame.
No, but I was influenced more in the Tumblr era to smoke. The Marlboro Red advertising branding.
Oh, fuck yeah.
I loved that. I was smoking out my window as a teenager. My mom caught me. And
really?
She took my box
what age?
I was 16. She caught me, took my box of smokes, but I had another box in my bedside table because my parents were divorced at this stage.
Yeah.
And, you know, my dad would get the guilt and he would just give me cash the odd time.
Yeah.
He would just, you know, he's like, I can't spend time with you, but here's some money.
Right.
So I was like, it's time for me to spend this on
ciggies
and weed so I can impress boys.
And was this at the time where you could still get a packet of cigarettes in the pub, you know, in the machines?
Yes. And they were about £5.
They were only £5, weren't they? I was nearly
good.
influenced to start smoking. Good.
Oh, you weren't a smoker?
I actually found it I completely despise smoking. I used to rip up my mum. Both of my parents smoked all the time when I was growing up.
Yeah.
And I used to rip up their cigarettes. I used to be able to stand the smell. Yeah.
Oh, you didn't like the smell?
Hated the smell, hated everything about it. And I used to be, this is so weird, I was so like overly aware of my own health as a child.
Oh.
It's really, really weird. And like I used to get like fixated on like, you know, the latest health craze, even though like I was a child and I was like mostly just eating all the food that my mum prepared for me.
Yeah.
And also I didn't really touch a vegetable for my teenage years really.
Okay.
But I remember being like, I've actually, this is going to sound crazy, I've never actually smoked a cigarette in the entirety of my life. I've never been on a night out and been locked and gone, we'll give us a drag off your fag. I've never smoked a cigarette.
That's brilliant.
No, but isn't it kind of crazy? And now because I've just reached a point in my life where I haven't smoked a single cigarette and I'm 31, I'm like, well, I'm going to have to not smoke for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
But then I'm like, oh my God.
What about the little vapes, the little watermelon?
Well, I'm known to have a little puff of a vape of a night out if I'm in the smoking area with the girls or whatever, or at a festival.
Yeah.
I usually come home the end of it and I'm like, what's with these 4 vapes in my bag? You know what I mean? So I can get down for a vape because there's a fruity smell.
Okay.
The smell doesn't put me off.
Yeah. Fruity smell, yummy.
Yummy. And that's the thing, that's where they get us, and that they make them yummy.
Yeah.
And they make them so cute. Like, I just think they're so cute to be like a little accessory. Sometimes, you know, when you're leaving the gaff and you're like, okay, I have a bag. Is there any way I could like dress up this outfit another bit? You're like, pop a vape in your hand, girls, a splash of colour.
Yes.
But don't vape.
No, but it'd be gorgeous now as a keychain or something.
As a little keychain.
Yeah.
A little charm for the phone.
Yeah. Charm for the phone.
With the Starbucks background.
Oh my
wallpaper.
God. Fuck the road phone cases. You could get one stuck with the vape.
With
a vape holder.
A vape. Or, if you're an entrepreneur out there, phone holder, that is a vape.
Yes.
Phone case, that's a vape.
Yes.
Yeah, you can actually just pop your phone into it. Nah, that's too much radiation in it. Now, I'm frantic because I'm going, have we started? We have, haven't we really? That's the pod. I think let's wrap things up.
Mini-sode. That's perfect.
That's perfect.
That's it.
Do you do an intro or anything?
No,
or are you manic?
I'm manic. Obviously,
you don't even go
ADHD.
hello?
No.
Keelan literally hasn't even said hi to me since I saw her 5 minutes ago and I came into the room. She just sat down and just expected me to start talking.
Because it's supposed to be just like a normal conversation. It's not supposed to be an interview.
Yeah. Also, did you let people know that we just paid £1.35 for the coffees?
I know. Don't tell people the secret. We have to boycott.
Yeah,
I mean, not boycott. We have to gatekeep.
We have to gatekeep.
I'm getting my buzzwords wrong.
I'm back for gatekeeping. Gatekeeping is in 2024.
So would you tell me what was in your lunchbox at school?
In my lunchbox in school, my dad, in fairness to him, used to make all of our lunches.
Oh.
Right. So typically, it would be a ham sandwich, nothing fancy.
Yeah.
There wasn't even cheese in it. White bread, for the most part. I'd say maybe come 5th or 6th class, we made a turn to the multigrain. You know what I mean?
Or the half and half.
Or the half and half. It was probably there. I didn't go full whack brown.
Yeah.
So I used to have ham sandwich, a banana, a packet of crisps, which was typically burger bites.
Yum.
Or we also used to have wheelies.
Yum.
It was one of those alternating between the two. Sometimes chickadees. Remember chickadees?
They're so good.
Oh my God. This is actually such a great question to like spin me back to the past. And then I would always have a chocolate bar, right? So it'd be like
a penguin bar,
a purple snack or a penguin.
Oh.
But then I got into the habit. Now, if John Fitzgerald or part of his family listens to this podcast, I don't think John does, but perhaps his sister might. they're probably thinking, I can't believe he's going on about this again because he has mentioned this so much. And the poor boy John, who was in my class, probably can't even remember doing this, but I used to swap him. I used to give him like a purple snack and he'd give me a slice of Madeira cake. I was living it up.
Oh my God.
I was living the dream. I was living like a king. It was a good trade. I was like, it didn't make sense to me that he was willing to give me, maybe he just craved chocolate a bit.
Well, I suppose you get sick of the same thing every day.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, I was the type of kid, like, I don't know how they expected children, right, to exercise self-restraint when it came to managing our lunches between a small and a big lunch. Like, I was a greedy fucking kid, so I ate all my lunch at first break, right? Used to always do it. I might leave the banana for second lunch or whatever. So then it came to whatever time in the day it was, 1 o'clock, and I'd be fucking starving. Also, because I was such a greedy kid as well, there was definitely a few times when I was in primary school, I went up to the teacher at second break and I was like, teacher, I don't have any lunch. Like, I forgot my lunch. And she'd be like, why didn't you come to me at like a first break? And I'd be like, I was too embarrassed. And then there'd be a collection in the class. Remember they used to do that? They'd have a small bit of a collection in the class and they'd offer you up their treats. And I'd literally be like, thanks so much.
Oh,
how embarrassing is that?
Oh my God, you greedy.
But also clever, wasn't it?
It's very clever.
I was a bit greedy when I was younger.
That's stealthy though. It's resourceful.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, I'm all the better for it. Like, the thing is, evolution. Like, I fared better than the rest of the kids in the class. They were all wasting away to nothing. Yeah. And I wasn't. I was probably still one of the weaklings, really.
Survival of the fittest.
Survival of the fittest, exactly.
I was a bit of a psychopath with my lunch. Always a bit of a control freak. Now, my mom says that I was cooking dinners by the time I was 4, but you know the way moms are just like, you were so advanced. God, yeah. She was so advanced. She was right.
Dinners?
She was like, she was cooking dinners when she was 4 and writing screenplays when she was 5. Do you know?
But whatever with the screenplays. But should you be left near a cooker at the age of 4?
That was kind of expected of us now.
At the age of 4?
Oh, you have to be cooking now.
We would my God.
We would be cooking, but for my lunches now, my dad would most of the time make the lunch, and it would be like a granary seedy bread with clumps of butter and ham.
Yeah.
Then I started making my own lunches because I was like, I can't take this anymore. So I would put slices of smoked salmon in a plastic bag.
Fuck off. Smoked salmon.
Smoked salmon in a plastic.
The poor girl sitting next to you in fucking school.
And I'd eat them with my hands.
No, I'm getting sick.
Yeah. Grapes chopped up into halves, obviously because they're a choking hazard.
Were they the candy floss grapes from M&S that everyone was obsessed with in the early millennium? Do you remember that?
No.
Everyone was like, oh my God, these grapes taste like candy floss.
No.
And all the girlies had them.
I didn't know. My parents didn't shop in M&S.
Oh, really? No, we didn't either, but it was just I remember one of the lads brought him into school one day and he was like, try these, they taste like candy floss. And they did.
Do they still have them?
I don't know if they do. It's probably some genetically modified. There's probably stricter
there was like
legislation in place in there, realistically. Hopefully. Look, but they tasted nice.
We didn't have the little chocolate bars or anything. No packets of crisps. None of that.
In your home or in your lunch?
Both.
Did you have a treat drawer?
We sometimes would always get eaten because I had an older brother and it would just be like all the food was always gone. Do you know, if we got it on the Saturday, it'd be gone by the Monday. Yeah. We wouldn't have treats. Like if there was Coke and noodles, they'd be gone by the Monday.
Really?
No, that sort of thing.
See, we were allowed to kind of go to the treat drawer as we pleased or to the biscuit tin. And then a few times I went to like some friends' like houses after school and they'd be like, Mummy, can we have a treat? Well, they weren't British, obviously. And I remember being just like, just go and get a fucking bar from the fridge. Like, why are you begging your mum for a treat like a fucking dog?
Yeah.
But and I think it would actually work better for us because it meant those kids, when it came to, like the parties and there was like a big spread, they were the ones who went fucking manic because they were like, oh my God, we can have as much chocolate and crisps as we want.
Yeah.
Whereas because we were just like left to our own devices at home, when it came to the parties, yeah, I'd have a bit, but I wasn't going mad.
You weren't like making yourself get sick.
You know what I mean? Yeah. I was having a chat with the mums anyway. I wasn't doing much eating, to be honest. I was having a cup of tea with the girls and finding out the goss. That's what I was doing at those parties.
Was there any good goss when you were younger?
I for some reason, I do think because some of the mums did confide in me.
And from what age?
From young. I remember one time being at a fella's house. I'm so conscious of naming names because I have a great memory. So like I will just throw out names.
Yeah, yeah.
And I like I've done it a few times like in the past with the podcast in like the early days, and I regret it now because I'm like, sometimes I go back to Cork, like at Christmas or whatever, you know, the way everyone goes down to the local at Christmas, and I see them and I'm just like, and like sweat starts to pool in my back. And I'm like, oh my God. And like, not that I've ever said nasty things, but I've just said things
just to
that they're probably like, how the fuck did he remember that, like, from 20 years ago? I've also spoken about 1 or 2 crushes that I had. I haven't named names on the crushes, but I say some of the lads are probably maybe slightly aware of it. But there was a time when I was at a fella's house after school. I wasn't particularly close to him, but I remember a load of the lads, they were like scrapping in the back garden. And I was like, would you cop on? Stop scrapping.
Yeah.
I like kind of broke it up, and I was like, you know, I was like, I don't know, say sorry, we'll say. That's what I said. I don't know exactly what my words were, but I kind of sorted, and we got back playing football or whatever. We were up to jumping on the trampoline. And then I remember the mum like pulled me in. She's like, Kevin. She's like, are you a peacemaker? And I was like, what? She's like, you just handled that situation so well. And I was like, well, they were fighting, like, and I stopped the fight. And then she was like, this is so crazy. She was like, do you want a drink? Now, it was also a hot day. Also, she wasn't pouring me a vodka coke, but she was like, do you want a drink? And I had a drink. And I remember I don't exactly remember the details of what she was telling me, but I remember she was chatting to me like one of the girls. Now, also, that being said, when I arrived at the gaff, I remember complimenting her hair.
She knew.
I think it was the thing that she knew. So I like complimented her on her hair. I was like, oh, I said, did you get your hair done? And I'm not even joking, but I'd say she probably had a moment of, I remember actually this so distinctly, where she kind of went, and I feel like she felt seen.
Oh, because her husband probably didn't even notice.
Because I said, like, do the husbands notice?
No. They don't.
A lot of them don't, or like, was it a thing where they were too embarrassed to say it? Sometimes, I'm sure some husbands do or whatever, and they say, oh geez, your hair looks lovely. But I'm wondering on this occasion, had anyone said it to her since she got the hair done? And I think she just took a bit of a shining to me. She knew I was gay realistically, right?
Yeah.
And she was probably just, that was the thing. That was my special power, my superpower. I used to just tell the mums they were gorgeous. Also, mums used to love me as well, because if I was ever at a buddy's house and we were playing and we were in the playroom, instead of like causing havoc and tearing the place apart, I used to get such satisfaction from like tidying and organising. So I would leave the playroom like tidier than when I arrived. So mums used to fucking love it. Oh my God. I used to literally be like, I stopped hanging around with one of my buddies growing up, because I remember going to his gaff. We built this big Lego construction, right? And we spent ages like slaving over it. And then he was like, now let's bash it down. And he was like, got one of his fucking action men and was like, psh, psh. Sorry for the sound effects. Psh, psh. He started bashing it down, and I was like, what are you doing? I was like, we literally just finished it. Like, leave it for a while at least. Also, like, when he was bashing it, like, things were flying everywhere. And I just got no enjoyment from that. And I was like, I'm off. I was like, I'm gone, right? Next thing, I get a phone call to the family home, to the house phone, which, you know, it's so funny that was a thing back in the day. And then my mum was like, oh, it's so-and-so's dad.
Oh.
And he was like, you have to come back up here and help so-and-so put away the Lego. And I was like, no, absolutely not.
What?
We had built a city, we had built a masterpiece, and your man's after destroying it, and everything was flying everywhere. It would have been an easy job to tidy it up if we just left it the way we had it. He
probably blames it on you, though.
Probably blamed it on me, and I was like, not hanging around with her anymore. She's bad news. She's trouble. So yeah, that's the type of, I think that all stemmed from you saying what was in your lunchbox.
See, I told you.
It's a great gateway question.
I know.
That should be the name of the pod. What was in your lunchbox? James Kavanagh, though, will be coming for you, because didn't he did a series and it was what did you eat this week?
Oh,
fuck. But I think actually, because yours is more rooted in nostalgia and like childhood, and is every conversation coming from the lunchbox. It's the Pandora's box, the lunchbox, isn't it really?
I know. It's never ending.
My God.
Yeah.
What was in your lunchbox? Keelan Moncrief. And I'm just thinking of the branding and one of the really cool old school lunchboxes. You know, the proper
I'm not joking.
hard plastic one.
When I was a child, I used to collect those vintage lunchboxes, but specifically the tin ones.
The tin were gorgeous.
So anytime I went on holidays or to a different country, I'd always try to find like a quirky alternative tin lunchbox. And if my dad went away, I have one in the shape of a guitar. I have like an oldie sweet shop sort of one.
Nice.
I had one in the shape of an elephant, one that like turned into a makeup table. I was just obsessed with
Oh
these,
my God, makeup table.
I know.
And did you bring it into school or was that purely for the purpose of collection?
No, I didn't use them.
Didn't use them?
No, it was more just to collect
Just
them.
to collect?
Yeah.
So you were always kind of quirky cool.
Yeah. No, I wouldn't call that necessarily cool now.
But it is, because you were going against the grain. So I respect that. I think that's like, obviously at the time probably didn't recognise it as such. But now if there was a kid collecting cool lunchboxes, you'd say, aren't they fucking brilliant, marching to the beat of their own drum? Instead of just collecting nothing wrong with it, Polly Pockets. You know what I mean?
Yeah, or like road lipsticks.
You know what I mean? Well, also those girls, they're icons now, aren't they?
Stanley cups.
Stop it. What's going on?
No, that's disturbing.
How is that? That's up there with the Starbucks. It's in the same vein, isn't it?
It is, exactly the
What are you
same.
doing with just Stanley Cups, girls?
Why do you need more than 3? Like in
Why do you need
max?
one? Do you have one?
Reusable. No, I don't have a Stanley now, but I have like reusable bottles.
Yeah,
like,
of course.
I like
We all
one
do.
for the handbag.
It's 2024. We all have reusable bottles.
Of course.
But why are people getting Stanleys? No, you know what? It's the accoutrement for the Stanleys. The
the snack
what's
things.
it called? All the added bits.
The accessories.
The accessories.
It's more I think a status of wealth or like exclusivity
Yeah,
to have
because
a
they're
Stanley.
what? 60 quid is it or something?
Yeah, and
now
then
we can kiss the Stanley collab goodbye, but that's fine, isn't it? I'm content with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, who cares?
Who gives a
Yeah,
shit?
keep your Stanley cups, bitch. Keep it. I don't even want to look at it. Smoked salmon. What a... No, that was weird.
Oh, sorry, smoked salmon. And then what else? Now, one of the girls in my class was allergic to nuts, but I would have been the type to bring in like a trail mix or like some nuts. I loved nuts when I was younger.
Miss me with the trail mix. No thanks.
Seeded crackers and like something to dip it in. So,
What age are you?
now,
Yeah.
26.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was like, we definitely, like, in my primary school, no one was going around with crackers and a dip. Or was it maybe a girls' school thingy?
No,
or was it just like...
it was a mixed school. No, it was definitely against the grain. I will say that. It was against the grain.
Okay, right.
Yeah, just bringing in random shit. I will say, just random shit that I found around the house. Yeah.
But was it for the purpose of shock? Or for people to go, look at what Keelan has in her lunchbox? Or was it just because you were like doing your own thing and a bit mad?
No, I just loved stuff that was like vinegary and smelly.
Ooh,
and
okay.
I went through a phase of bringing in, do you know those Frankfurter sausages that you literally put in the microwave?
We can't talk about them. We can't talk about them.
It gets
You
worse.
didn't?
No, it was not even just the Frankfurters on their own. It was the hot dog bun cut down the middle with the heated up Frankfurter with ketchup and mustard, and then I'd wrap it in tin foil. So then by the time it came around to big lunch, it was obviously all like sweaty, shriveled up from like the heat and the moisture inside the tin foil.
You're lucky you're not fucking radioactive after consuming that.
And it was like every day for a while.
Hot dogs.
Hot dog.
Hot dog. Hot dogs.
Yeah.
That is manic.
I know.
I was just saying the other day, I can't believe that people over here, right, go to the cinema, right, and go up and buy their tickets, and then they're like, what do you want to eat? Or do you want popcorn? And they say, no, I'd love a hot dog. And they take a bit of pork that's been rotating for God knows how fucking long. I'd say minimum 8 hours, just in the background, and they just consume a hot dog on the premises. I'm actually like, you know what? People are playing with their lives. There's people being like, oh my God, you know what you're putting into your body, like getting vaccines and doing all this. You're eating hot dogs from a cinema counter. Obviously, girls, look, I'm not judging anyone. If that's, you know, if you can't afford to go for your nice meal beforehand and it's a bit of sustenance for you, crack on. But if you're eating hot dogs from a cinema counter, look, if you grow an extra limb or if you give birth to a child with a third ear, that's on you. Just know that you ate the hot dog. Do you know what I mean? No one forced you.
Radioactive.
Radioactive is the name of the app.
Literally. What was your like extracurricular activities as a kid?
So when I was in first class, I did a play in school. I went to an all boys primary school and secondary school.
Oh Jesus!
Yeah, but it's so funny because people are like, "What?" Whereas that was such the norm back home. I remember, like when I was in secondary school, there was lads that I met who went to Closhcullen, which was the mixed school, and I remember being like, "What?" And it was this like foreign territory. They weren't hippies, but they were all like. They were just so much more mature. Like mix the schools now. Mix the schools.
I know.
Like there's no argument for having like separation, isn't it? Like what was their argument? Was it like that the boys would be feral around the girls?
I think it was something perverted.
Something stupid. Like we're kids.
Yeah.
Nobody cared, and it just made people grow up more, and it also meant that the gays like had more backing with the girlies. You know what I mean? But we did a play when we were in first class, and it was like a take on Aladdin.
So did someone have to be the girl then?
So I put my hand up. There was only one girl. I put my hand up to be Aladdin's mum.
Right.
But it was Aladdin's adopted mum.
Okay.
So no, Aladdin was an orphan or something like that. Basically, you know, when some of the teachers who I'd say were at the primary school teaching a while, and then they were like, I'm not able to tap into my creative juices.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they're like, they're stuck in the humdrum of like doing the same thing every day, teaching the same syllabus. And they're like, I'm going to write a play and I'm going to transform this school.
Yes.
You know what I mean? One of those teachers. And transform the school she did. She definitely transformed me.
Yeah.
Shout out to Miss Burke. I think that was her maiden name. I think she then became Miss O'Callaghan. Anyway, Miss O'Callaghan, if you're out there, I hope you're doing well. Loved her.
Yeah.
Basically, I put my hand up for Aladdin's mum. Aladdin's mum only had a few lines. I was only in at the start. I remember one of the lines. Do you want to hear it? Okay. So one of the lines I said was to my husband, I said, "Come along, darling. I think I need a new Rolls Royce. The one I have is at least a week old." Right? And I used to love it. I didn't even know what a Rolls Royce was. I still don't really. I'm not too into watches. And I was doing the play and we were rehearsing for it. The fellow who was picked as Aladdin, like it's a week before the show, the child still hasn't a glimmer of the lines. Doesn't know what's going on.
No.
Meanwhile, I'm in the back when we're going around and when we're acting it out, mouthing everyone else's lines. This is something I still do.
Yeah.
So mouthing everyone else's lines when it was coming in. I had a photographic memory growing up, so I was like, I knew the whole script. Anyway, like the teacher was like, he doesn't have a clue. So she was like, "Jack, will you be Aladdin's mum? And Kevin, will you be Aladdin?" I was like, absolutely. But I really wanted to play the mum at the same time.
Right, okay.
I was like, I just got so much enjoyment from it. But I was also obviously weak to be playing the main part. And then I did Aladdin and the parents came or whatever. And afterwards, I remember because I was with my mum when the teacher was saying it, she was like, "Get him into a drama class now."
Yeah.
Like, get him into a drama class. Like, I can't believe he doesn't do drama. And then the rest is history. I started doing drama after school, doing fesh matches. Did you have them up in Dublin?
No.
It's basically just like a competition where you get up on stage and you do your poems or you do your acting piece.
Right.
And then I did Oliver. There was like this big casting call for kids to do. Oliver was coming to the Opera House and it was also going to Dublin. And they needed kids to be, the workhouse kids. I went to the audition, ended up getting it. And there was like dancing in the show. It was kind of more choreographed movement as opposed to full on dancing, but I've never danced before. And I remember loving it. And all the other lads weren't as quick at picking it up as I was. So I was like, oh my God, I kind of have a knack for this. And then I was just like, get me into a dance class. I was also playing football at the time, which was a bit... I was giving you the best of both worlds. It was a bit rogue. Kind of Hannah Montana vibes. But I love playing soccer as well. I enjoy playing football. All my brothers did it. Like I grew up in an estate, and like if you weren't playing football with the lads out in the park, what else were you doing?
Right.
You know what I mean? It was either that or you'd be in by yourself. You know what I mean? We also played a game of curbs and swing ball course, right?
Any kiss chasing or?
Not really. Tip the can. We did a bit of tip the can.
Okay.
Manhunt. I didn't like roughhousing. I didn't like any form of like aggressive behaviour. It was also around the time when Jackass was huge and like it was all young lads
shitting
who
everywhere.
loved Jackass, and it was like people just kind of all the lads were watching Jackass. I couldn't watch Jackass. Hated watching it, and the lads used to like go on their bikes and like ram them into a curb or like just do things to like with the intent of like hurting themselves. You know what I mean? It sounds a bit crazy now, but like wrestling, or they'd be like, let's do Jackass where we where we like jump on the trampoline and then jump into the bush. And I would be like, no, because you're going to get hurt. So I hated all of that. But I
would you
partook in the soccer. No, I wouldn't. I would literally be like, I'm not doing that.
So you just stand it out?
I would just stand it out. I would just be like, I'm not doing this, girls.
Would they slag you?
They knew I was a bit particular. They knew that I was probably a bit sensitive.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or a bit delicate.
Delicate.
But I mean, I could get away with delicate.
Delicate
Who doesn't
flower.
like a bit of delicateness?
Sorry, were you in something I saw in your story? Were you in the background of something on your bike?
Oh my God, how embarrassing.
What was that?
Oh my God. So my mum messaged me the other night and she was like, pure mum text, she was like, Channel 4 dispatches now. Right. And I goes, what is it? And she goes, going on about all the phone robbings in Stratford, which is where I live.
Right.
She was like, be careful out there. If they try to take your phone, just give it to them. They have knives. ... apparently. I was like, all right, okay. And I threw it on, but I only watched it for a few minutes. I only caught the tail end of it. But I had it up on my story, just a screenshot of my mum like telling me that, because she will always, there'll be like, now, it so happens that it was in Stratford, but like if anything ever happens in London, I'll get a text from my mum and she'd be like, stabbing, West London. You know what I mean? And I'm like, I remember around the time like there was like a bomb scare and she was like, stay away from London Bridge. I was like, I'm not just going to go walk on London Bridge. You know what I mean? She doesn't really get it. She just thinks it's London, like it's huge. I don't think she understands the scale of it. So anyway, I put up a screenshot in my story and then a fella messaged me and was like, he lives in London. He was like, I wanted to watch the documentary. And he goes, I'm not even joking. He goes, I'm 100% sure that I saw you on your bike in it with the face blurred out. He took a screenshot. It was me in the documentary that my mum was watching, telling me to watch. But it's so weird. I think they positioned me, like they blurred out my face and it's just a clip of me on my bike and all these lads who are stealing the phones are on their bikes. I don't know. I think they might have been implying that I was robbing the phones, which I think is hilarious. I couldn't be less of a thug. But my mum then, I sent it to my mum then and she just went, oh my God, isn't that the funniest thing ever? It doesn't look like you though from the waist up. But the only thing that was on the waist up was me wearing a jumper and a blurred out face. And I was like, well, what were you expecting? Like they're blurring out the face. I don't know. I just thought it was I got a fierce kick out of it.
Have you been in anything else after your extras career in being an Oliver?
As in show-wise or TV? What are we talking?
Everything.
Do you want me to bring up the spotlight page? Just previous work history. So basically after Oliver, I got involved in doing like shows in Cork. I joined like a big stage school and was doing, we'd put on a musical like every year.
Yeah, like, that's so fun.
Which is my best memories were like from my youth are doing shows and the crack we used to have. Me and my friend Padraig, like we both went to the same stage school.
He's going to be my guest for my Quirk show.
Oh really? Yeah, he was telling me this.
Yeah.
And me and Padraig used to just have like unparalleled fun.
Yeah.
It was so much fun. And then because like we were the only two lads, well there was another fella, Pat, as well, but like there wasn't many lads, like we were lording it up, you know what I mean? We were just having the biggest ball. The girlies loved us. We loved the girlies. We like had the same sensibilities, and like it was where we kind of came into our own. I became so confident from going to like stage school. It really kind of brought out the best in me, you know what I mean? And like just made me a confident person.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I honestly, it was like the best thing I ever did. I think the best thing for any children, like get them into like drama classes or dance classes. Get boys into dance classes. You know what I mean? I sometimes like I even think about like the anxieties that lads had when we first started going out, or like you'll see some lads on the dance floor. And not to say that I was ripping it up like fucking Step Up or whatever, but it just meant that I'd even aside from dancing, just for the posture element.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Get some lads just have such poor posture and like they don't like walking around the place like with their shoulders back because, it looks a bit, I don't know.
Feminine.
Probably like feminine, probably. You know what I mean? To have nice posture. No, nice posture is stunning, and also it will sort you out for the rest of your life. That's the thing I'm most grateful for is the posture. And I was doing all that, and then like I went to UCC, but then I dropped out and I was like, I want to do performing over here. So I trained, that's why I moved to London. So I trained over here for 3 years.
Amazing.
As a dancer, performer kind of thing. And then lockdown happened. I graduated. I worked 6 months as a dancer on a cruise ship.
Yeah.
Traveling around Asia and stuff. And then...
Did you like that?
I did. I liked elements of it.
Yeah.
It's all a bit of a Wild West. It's like you're in international waters, and it's like it has its own legal system.
Oh.
As in, like, there's like ship law. It's not like actual real certified law. It's like there's like these rules and codes of conduct you have to abide by on the ship, which is a bit crazy.
Is there anything?
Like there's a hierarchy. Yeah, I nearly got kicked off at one point because our dance captain, she was fucking mental. So basically, I went in as a cover.
Yeah.
The cast who were on the ship, they had done a 9-month contract.
Right.
They had been on this ship for 9 months, but traveling around to different ports, traveling all around Asia. We did, like the home port was Shenzhen in China. We went to Japan, went to places like Fukuoka, Miyakojima, went down to South Korea. We did Jeju Island, went to Vietnam. It was gorgeous. Like the itinerary was stunning, and it was part of the world I never really had any ambition to see at that age, but I was like, when I did, I was like, Jesus Christ. Am I so worldly?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But anyway, so I went on. I replaced the dance captain. Was a guy. I was taking his spot. But obviously, because I was just learning the shows, I wasn't being made dance captain. So dance captain is kind of the person who would oversee the shows, once the choreographer has choreographed and set the shows.
Right.
So they would be. So say if we had a gig and something went wrong or someone was injured, so they couldn't do a certain part of the routine, they'd be the ones responsible for
replacing them
or like changing things around or changing formations, or equally if someone wasn't like pulling their weight in a number, or if they look like sloppy, sometimes the dance captain might do a show watch, or like they. Might just take notes and be like, just tell someone they need to kind of step it up essentially, really. So they were working on the ship for 9 months. This girl had been made dance captain. The cast who were on board, I was obviously buzzing because it was like my first contract after graduating. I was traveling to the other side of the world. They were they were like just in the routine of doing the shows every night, and they were just trying to make the most of their time when they weren't working. You know what I mean? That's half the joy of it, really. Well, most of it is like you're going to doing a ship contract, not for the shows, because the shows themselves aren't spectacular. There's only so much you can do on a fucking ship. They're doing it because you get to travel the world and do all the other things and chill by the fucking pool and sunbathe. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they were just looking to do their gig and get out. But when this person took over, they were essentially used it as an opportunity to do a load of things or change parts of the show that she wasn't happy with, and she'd obviously been biting her tongue, or she basically was on a bit of a power trip.
Okay.
Everyone was allergic to her. Everyone was raging. She was calling all these extra rehearsals that should have just been for me, really. And obviously the rest of the cast would have been involved in some capacity because I was doing a lot of partner work on the ship, so a lot of lifts and things. But she was calling all these extra rehearsals. She had us rehearsing for the Christmas show in October, and we hadn't even done the fucking Halloween gig. And I was like, I'm having to learn about, I'm not even kidding you, 40 new dance numbers.
Oh my God.
Because you had to learn 2 separate shows. You then had to, we were also dancing what's called sail away, which was when the ship was coming out of port. So all the passengers have just gone on board, all the new passengers, they all come up to the top deck by the pool. We put on a show there. We did another show for the casino. We did another show on one of the party nights that just happened in the main foyer that wasn't even in the auditorium. All these had 5 and 6 dance numbers as part of the set.
Yeah.
So I remember at one point I was because I was so overwhelmed as well, because I was the only one who was learning the choreography from scratch.
Yeah.
And I just felt completely out of my depth as well, because I had no one to compare myself to. I had no one to say, oh, I'm struggling as well, or oh, Jesus Christ, I can't remember that either. So I was just I'm not cut out for this. And I remember being I'm going to have to throw myself off this fucking ship. Not into the water.
Overboard!
No, what I was going to do was, because in my contract, if I got injured, I still got paid. And that was my thing. I was piss poor. I just graduated.
Yeah.
I was taking this contract because it's a great way of saving money as well, right? Because you're not paying for accommodation. You're not paying for food. You're fed, whatever, for your breakfast, lunch and dinner. So I was doing it to save money so that I could move into a nice apartment in London. And I was if I get injured... Oh, no. I was I still get paid. I remember just being well, I just fucked myself down the stairs, which is awful. I wouldn't recommend anyone doing that.
Yeah.
But I got on with it. But anyway, this dance captain was making my life a living hell. Everyone was fed up with her. But because everyone was getting fed up with her around the time that I had joined, she thought it was me that was causing this mutiny. You know what I mean?
Oh.
She saw me as the source of the issue. And I was like, no, girl, you're the issue, doll.
Yeah.
Like, ask anyone, they'll tell you. But like, one of the lads then had enough of her. So there was me, another male dancer, and then a specialised ballroom dancer who is male as well. He wasn't as good at just like regular choreography. He was very much he was an amazing ballroom dancer, but he found it harder to pick up like commercial or jazz or kind of musical theatre style.
Yeah.
So the other male dancer was like, couldn't hack her. And he was like, I'm done. I've done 10 months or whatever. He was like, I'm getting off. Now, he was doing flips in the show as well. So he was like, my back, I'm done. But we all knew, like the cast, we all knew that he had enough of her. So I'm just after finishing learning all these shows, learning all these dance numbers. And then he's gone. And she's like, we have to change the routines again, right? And I'm going, my brain is ready to fucking explode. Like the other routines weren't even sitting in my body just yet. I was like having to like think about them so much, and I wasn't at a point of enjoying the shows yet. And then she wanted to do all these changes, and a lot of the things were myself and the other dancer like doing lifts, right? And I remember at one point she was like, right, we're still going to do this lift, and I was like, no, this is a 2-person lift. Like I was lifting you with, she was like, well, what else are we going to do here? She was like, I think you'll be able for it. And I was like, I'm letting you know right now, like, I don't feel comfortable doing it. She was like, we'll give it a try. We tried in rehearsal. I was able to do it, right?
Yeah.
But I was like, when it comes to this point in the show, there's about 4 or 5 dance numbers that I've already done. I was like, I'm wrecked.
Yeah.
Also, the costume changes in my cruise girlies, any of my girlies who've worked on a cruise, shout out to you girls, because I've nothing but utmost respect for you. It's a tough craft and it's a tough gig.
Yeah.
I was exhausted and I was like, just letting you know, I don't feel comfortable. Comes to the show. Also, by the way, I want to remind people, we're performing on the sea.
Oh my God.
There's obviously lifting happening. The ship's going like that when you're in the middle of a show, and I'm having to lift someone above my fucking head. So cut to the show when we're training for the first time, I dropped the girl on her fucking back, right? Now, in my head, I was nearly like, serves you fucking right, but I was also mortified, right? I dropped this girl mid-show and everyone's going, what the fuck? She went to fucking HR and said that I dropped her on purpose to make a point. And I was like, oh, I got called to like HR on this fucking ship, my first contract out of college.
Did anyone ever go to HR about her?
We did. We all went after that then, in fairness to the rest of the cast, we all came together. This sounds bad, but so if you get fired from a ship contract, you'll never work on a ship again. Like no one will hire you again, because it will just be like, even if it's for another company, you know, because they'll be like, obviously you don't want that trouble when you're out in the water, like someone who has a history, right? So so that's your career over. So
so you're very wary of that, I suppose.
Wary of that as well. So we all went, but we still said, we were like, look, it can't go on like that. Like, we don't want to ruin the girl's career or ruin her life, but she's ruining our lives. We're like, we still had like 2 months left of this contract, 2 or 3 months left.
Yeah.
And then I think they advised her to take leave or something like that. Like they got rid, basically.
Oh, okay.
Something like that.
So she got demoted.
But this is crazy. But before I like met with HR, I had found an email. We basically had this like clock-in system.
Yeah.
That we had to go up to like a computer and just like sign in for all our shifts or like for the show, so they knew we were there. And I saw an email that she had just sent to my general manager. And I saw an email that the person who booked me for the gig back home, that this dance captain was obviously reporting back to, saw an email that she had sent to my general manager on the ship. Basically like a list of like lies that like you wanted to like accuse me of, and I was just like, I remember I took a screenshot of it and I was like, it was madness. It was so crazy.
Like a head screenshot or a real screenshot?
No, I took an actual screenshot on my phone. Or I took a picture, not a screenshot. I literally took a photo of it, and I was like, and it was tough as well because I'm away from family, and like the Wi-Fi on board is like shit. There's obviously like time difference. Like I remember just being away from my family and being like, what the fuck?
Oh, that's horrible.
It was a crazy time. I'm still like really grateful I did the contract. I made like really good friends on it. It was a really good learning experience for me straight out of college.
Yeah.
And I saved a shit ton of money. I didn't, like when you're working on a ship, like I didn't have to pay tax on it because it was like,
oh yeah, you're not in a specific
country. And I was like, this is the dream.
Brilliant.
I saw a gorgeous part of the world, and I was like, when I was doing the shows, when we got into it, like I was loving life, you know what I mean?
Was there any repercussions then with your manager back home? Were you able to redeem yourself and just be like, it wasn't true?
No, because the fact that I wasn't consulted, The fact that there was an email sent to my manager without this person consulting me. So this person was the person who booked me for the job, like on the audition.
Yeah.
I was like telling me how much they love me and stuff. It was all for me. And then they hadn't even consulted me before they went to my manager to say all this stuff, but wasn't saying like, the dance captain said this, was saying, I had a conversation with the dance captain. Kevin is doing this. And I was like, oh my God, lies. Liza Minnelli, you lie like a rock.
Oh my God.
So I was a bit hard done by it, and I was like, I don't need it. And also like after that, I was like, one ship contract was enough for me. You know what I mean? I was offered like other contracts afterwards. And like once you do one ship contract, if you finish it successfully or whatever, like you kind of have your pick of ones, what ones you want to do again. You know what I mean? Like there's some people who will get a job on a ship and stay on them for the rest of their lives. The girlies were living the dream because all the girlies, you have these gorgeous dancers, right?
Yeah.
These gorgeous, stunning, tall dancers who all end up, because you're on a ship, right? They all end up riding the captains of the ship. Not the captain necessarily, but like we'll say, you know, all the lads in the shirts with their stripes.
Yeah.
So like instead of just having like a shared dancers cabin,
yeah,
they're like shackled up with like the fellas who are like top of the rank for these contracts. They're not spending a penny. They're having like room service to the rooms. They travel the world. A lot of them, I know so many girls who've ended up marrying like a fella that they've met on a ship, and they just travel the world. And you can do what's called like couples contracts. So you apply for all your contracts together, and they just travel the world together. So
to change the subject now, do you want to talk about your college experience? How was UCC?
UCC, I loved UCC.
Yeah.
Loved it. People say that I love mentioning at any opportunity the fact that I went to UCC. I was a big brain box in school.
Yeah, well, the photographic memory, I can imagine.
Photographic memory, and like completely suited me to the Irish education system. Like I got 11 A's in the junior cert. They called me Kevin 11.
Oh my God.
Got like 580 in the leaving. Now, I'm probably the only person who remembers their points in their leaving cert, right? But it was like a huge thing for me. Still, if someone was to like, at the end of my life, say, what was one of your biggest achievements? I would be like, the junior cert and the leaving cert.
Yeah.
Because I was just so disciplined. I was like so set. I remember just being like, if I wanted to achieve something or learn something, I just had such discipline to be able to sit down and study for like 3 or 4 hours. And be like,
brilliant.
I know that. I don't know what it was about. It was so crazy. My brother hated it because he was doing his leaving cert at the same time I was doing my junior cert. And I was doing more studying than him.
Oh.
And he was like, you're really fucking showing me up. You know what I mean? So went off to UCC, did commerce with French. I liked loads of things.
Yeah.
Every subject in school, like I was really, really into. I loved languages, loved Irish, loved French, loved business, did accounting, loved sciences. Like I remember at one point I was panicking because my biology teacher, who had kind of taken a shining to me the whole time, he was a really, really nice guy. He actually had me back in the school like 2 years ago to give a talk about like just kind of following a creative path. But I remember he pulled me aside and was like, what do you want to do, when I was in 4th year or 5th year? I was like, I don't really know. I was like, I still like love so many things. Like there's about 5 things now that are all completely different from each other that I'd love to put down in my CAO.
Yeah, and
like,
what were they? Know.
It was like law. I was wanting to do business. At one point I was playing with the idea of like doing medicine, like just loads of different things, because I'm like, how are we meant to decide what we want to fucking do at the age of like 16 or 17? Because I think at that time when you're filling out the CAO, you are like thinking about things in context of it being your entire life.
Yeah.
Like especially like I remember with like Padraig, right? So Padraig decided in transition year that he was wanting to do primary school teaching. So he had his like heart set on that. He was like getting grinds in like Irish, you know, because you had to get the like higher level, whatever. And I remember just being like, in my head back then, even though it's obviously not the case now, it doesn't mean he has to be a teacher for the rest of his life. But I remember being like, how does he know that he wants to do that forever? And I found that scary, like thinking about doing something forever. I have a huge fear of permanency.
Right.
Yeah. Haven't had many long-term relationships in my life. Haven't had any tattoos just because I'd be so traumatized about it being on my body forever.
Wow.
It's crazy.
That's
I don't
so
know.
interesting.
Yeah, I know. And I never got to that part in therapy. I was unpacking so much other shit, and I was like, I remember when I finished up with her, and I was like, I never spoke about my disdain for permanency. But anyway, so that teacher, that biology teacher, sat me down and was like, what do you want to do? I was like, I don't know. I want to do this, and this. And he was like, there are people who might just decide that they want to be a bin man, but because they know what they want, they can like chase it and go for it, and they will be the best bin man ever, and they'll like just have their heart set on it, and they'll do everything they can to succeed and to ensure that that's what they do.
Yeah.
And he was like, but you don't really have any direction. You don't know what you want to do. So he was like, that's worrying. And I remember being like, oh my God. I was like, that is worrying. That's so worrying. So
you're paralyzed by choice probably.
Exactly.
Especially if you had the brains. I feel like you have so many more options given to yourself that you don't know where to go, as well as being interested
Absolutely.
in a lot of things.
And like, even one of the things I loved in school was like the variety. I was like, if you get fed up of one thing, you're doing another thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And went to UCC. I ended up like putting commerce as French as my first choice because I think I was always like business inclined. I always had a business mind, right?
Yeah.
Loved doing jumble sales when I was younger. When it came to doing the mini company in transition year, you best believe.
I'd say you slayed.
I was headed that mini company. We were doing like an advertising thing with local companies. Like loved just knowing about business, and accounting was probably my strongest subject. Like I just was I remember loving accounting because you could go into your accounting exam. Oh my God, people are listening, they're probably like, why the fuck is this loser going on about leaving cert accounting? They're like, what am I even listening to?
I love talking about school.
Followers are dropping off, I'm telling you that much. But I remember being like, I went into my leaving cert accounting exam knowing that I came out of my leaving cert accounting exam knowing that I'd like basically gotten full marks because everything balanced.
Oh yeah.
So you can almost like check you almost know
the right answer.
The right answer, or like at least even if you had a wrong figure but they balanced or whatever, at least you know that like your formula was kind of right. You know what I mean? And I remember just being like, that for me was great because I was like, this is fucking brilliant. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You like that things add up and there's a formula for
structure.
Stuff? Yeah, structure.
Oh my God. Honestly, I'm on a semi. I'm not even joking. Just thinking about it. Oh my God, maybe I should go back and do accounting. So I did that because I was like, commerce is like a general business degree, and there was like accounting module, there's like marketing modules, and then I also did with French. So and I love like going into like my French culture lessons and being like, oh my God, I'm a man of the world. And I remember like we did like French film studies, and I remember doing like a movie we did study which was like Le Comble Lucien, and I remember just being like, I felt part of something huge.
Yeah.
And like the university experience that we probably saw on telly growing up.
Yeah.
If you're watching Sabrina, you see her like going to college, I don't know, high school or whatever, or like Saved by the Bell, one of these. I remember being like, this is it. You know what I mean? Like I'm part of this big thing. But then I was because I was like so invested in my studies when I went to UCC, like the dancing and the acting kind of took a bit of a back seat, and I was like, wasn't happy about it. And I was like, oh, so that's it. So I was like, this is only first year. I was like, things are only going to get like, busier, more hectic. Like dancing, acting and all the rest of it is probably just going to waste away to nothing. You know what I mean? And I was like, wasn't happy about that. I know people get involved in drama, and I was involved in the dance society and things, but like I wasn't getting my fill.
Yeah.
So then I think having done the year then, I became a bit more emboldened, or just had a bit more courage to be like, this actually isn't what I want to do right now. I can always come back to it. But I also, because I was like so good in school and because I was such a swat, I was like, if I tell my parents when I'm filling out the CAO form that I want to go to London and pursue a career in the arts, I was just like, I felt like I would have been throwing my life away. I felt like it didn't make sense.
Yeah, wasting
my brains.
Yeah.
Even though like that doesn't make sense, but that's kind of what we were convinced of. You know what I mean? Because like a career in the arts isn't a worthwhile one. You know what I mean? But then like after doing the year in UCC, I was like, actually, fuck it.
Yeah.
Who cares? Like I can always go back to this. I can't decide at the age of 35 that I want to be a fucking dancer. You know what I mean? When my body's, packing in, my knees are already fucking shagged and I'm 31. So I was like, let me go away. So just audition for schools then in London and ended up going over the next year.
Did you miss learning?
Yeah.
Or like, because I'd say you get a buzz off exams.
Yeah.
And, academic validation.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I used to excel. There were certain like modules or certain lessons when I went to like dance college, like musical theatre things. We did one thing in second year. It's called a swing project. So basically a swing in a show. I'm not sure if you know, but they're...
Swingers. I'm familiar.
Swingers, yeah. Pineapple outside the gaff. The pampas grass. But they cover multiple roles.
Okay.
So basically, instead of just being like an understudy, a swing would be typically paid more, because they're literally having to learn so many different tracks.
Okay, yeah.
But if that comes to a show that's like a dance-based show where there's so many different formations, you might be learning different choreography for different sections. Like, it's a fucking mindfuck. So what you have is like a swing Bible, which is like basically a thing where you write down, is a lot of the time is color coded, all your different tracks. So if you're like, if I'm covering this character, if I'm covering this part, it's this. Just so if you get a call the day of the show where like Stephen isn't in, you have to cover his part, you just open up your book and you can go through it, and then you can get into the theatre, I don't know, 2 hours early. And you can just go through all his stuff with like the rest of the cast.
Right. So
we did that project in second year, and I remember everyone being allergic and up the walls, and I was like, you know, traumatized as well, like at the like workload of it. But I remember being like, color coded fucking Bible, this is my fucking jam. You know what I mean? And I was like, so any instance or any opportunity to really kind of flex those muscles, those like, you know, brain and thinking and logic and writing or whatever, I used to love. And I was pure like teacher's pet, and I'd be like, look at my Bible. You're my Bible teacher. And all this, see, the thing is, well, what I loved as well about like going to like dance college, all the teachers, like the singing teachers and the dance teachers, they were all like camp funny men. Like, you know, like Louis Spence from Pineapple Dance Studios.
Yeah.
Like all of my teachers, like some of them were crazy, but all of my teachers were like different variations of them, or even like the female teachers. I used to have such a laugh. There was one of my teachers, Annie, and see, basically because I had done my Leaving Cert, I had done a year at uni, there were some girls who were 16 going to dance college. So I had girls in my year when I was 21 who were 16. There was other people my age as well, or like, you know, 19, 20 and stuff. And I wasn't the oldest, but like I was one of the oldest. So that meant that I like a better rapport with my teachers. They kind of respected me more, or like just knew that I kind of got it more. Right, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'd like such like a good laugh with some of the teachers. Also, it's probably the Irish thing as well, right? But like I remember one of my teachers, Annie, like she took such a shining to me, and we used to just, I used to go into our lessons and just have the biggest laugh. And like anytime she opened her mouth, I was just like this. You know what I mean? I felt like I was part of a sitcom. Felt like I was part of like a mockumentary type thing, because some of the shit that happens within the walls of like dance colleges itself is just fucking mayhem. I remember one of our first acting lessons with this particular teacher, right? We went into a room. He had chairs all lined up like so, like 2 and 2, like in rows. We all had to sit down, and for like 20 minutes, we had to pretend that we were on a plane and that it was being hijacked. And I remember just being like, coming out of there and being like, what am I doing? Like, what is this? What is my life? Like, what am I... Like, last year I was, you know, studying the fucking life cycle of a fucking sticky note in one of my management modules in UCC. And now I'm trying to escape from this room, pretending that there's a terrorist attack on this fucking flight, but we're just sitting on a fold-up chair. It was all what... I had the best 3 years of my life at dance college. Best 3, the friends I made, I'm still like best buddies with them now. I used to laugh every day. I was so scared when I moved over, right? In my first week, I remember being like, I'm making the biggest mistake of my life. I'm throwing my life away. I was such a homebird as well. I had such good buddies back in Cork. I was so close to my family. My mum came over with me on the first day when I moved over. She flew in with me that morning, flew back that night. And I remember I walked with her to the coach station for her to go back to the airport. And she handed me a letter. Oh. And I remember just being like, I can't read this now because this is going to break me. Yeah. I was like, and I'll be getting on that bus with you. And she was like, you're right. And she took the letter and she was like, I'll give it to you when you're a bit more settled in. And I remember going back to the gaff that I was staying in at the time, and I just had this sinking feeling in my stomach being like, what the fuck? And I literally just moved over the day before I was like due to start. Yeah. Like we had our induction week or our freshers week. I remember being like, what am I doing? And by that Friday, I remember just being like, you've made the right decision. Like it was just
that soon.
That was just so much fucking fun. And then I was kind of like, even if I don't ever work in the arts afterwards, if I never get a job as like a fucking dancer, I never work on the West End, I remember just being like, it's fucking worth it, because I'm just was having like a great standard of training. I was getting up every day to like dance, which is something like that I loved, and act and like be creative, which is something that I like really didn't have when I was in UCC. It was all like, you know, go to the library and learn fucking texts and whatever. And I remember just being like, this is it. Like, this is like, it's fucking fun. You know what I mean? It's obviously mayhem. You get some fucking freaks there and some people that like I was allergic to, and I was like, they need to leave. You know, because you have so much big personalities, and some people who are just like tapped, and like, you know, so many narcissists and stuff. I could probably be categorized in that bracket as well, but like people that you were just like, you're not real life. Like the fact that they're not making a series, they were actually meant to at the time. I think they were meant to do something with our college.
Yeah.
They were meant to do like because it was based in Essex. So you had like Twomey at the time, which was like doing great numbers back in 2014. I don't know what way it's doing now. But basically they wanted to come in and do like a series, like a reality series about this like dance college or whatever.
I would love that.
And but I would have eaten it up. It was like a real life fucking Glee almost. Do you know what I mean? It was that kind of buzz, or like, I don't know if you watched Britannia High growing up or anything like that, like, or Fame or whatever. It was literally that. It was literally that. It was so funny. High School fuck. But it was literally that. I'm not even joking. It was so much fucking fun.